Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Nick Tasso at the Inefficient 2. Taking a look at pitching on tonight's FanDuel and DraftKings slate, and kind of a different comparison. DraftKings, it's a big logjam up top. FanDuel, it's a little more spread out.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, I feel like we talk about pitching on both sites being completely different every single time, and tonight's no different.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also a cores game to talk about. And as far as, that kind of ties into pitching as far as, maybe looking to pay down. And we'll kind of get into that as we go. First game here, Rangers and Yankees, Chichi Gonzalez, Ivan Nova, over under 9.5. This game, outside of course, I think on both sides, and obviously we saw Tyler Duffy shut down the Yankees yesterday. I don't think that's going to be the case again. I think you just look at both these offenses and target them heavily.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a huge skip for me for both starters.
Yeah, definitely. And we can just move on. No real positives to really talk about between Nova and Gonzalez there.
I know Nova's been pretty bad, and Chichi's making his first start of the year, and he was very up and down last year, so it could be a long night for both starters.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here, you got the Mets and Nationals, Noah Syndergaard versus Joe Ross, over under a 7, Mets minus 117 favorites. Syndergaard, obviously an intriguing option. You're looking at him, a really intriguing kind of spin down guy from Arrieta. 12-2 on DraftKings, 10-8 out there on FanDuel. So about little over $1,000 difference. I don't mind him as a come down option. I still think Arrieta is the top guy of the night, but I like Syndergaard a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's I probably wouldn't do him on FanDuel just because the way the pricing is, he's not too much of a difference, and there's a few other guys cheaper that I might like. But you look at this Nationals team, and they've really been lackluster lately. Haven't really scored too much, and they still strike out a decent amount. So I know Syndergaard hasn't been the same as he was a few starts ago. He's kind of come back down to earth, but I still think he's a pretty good option, and I like that little GPP kind of play, drop down to him on DraftKings.
Yeah, I do too. And you mentioned this Nationals offense. 18th in WOBA against right-handed pitching, 20% strikeout rate. And obviously, strikeout rate wise on the slate, 30% there for Syndergaard. It's even higher than Arrieta. He's got that monster 15% swing strike rate. So overall, I think with Murphy and Harper struggling, unfortunately, Joe Ross on the other side, I don't think this is an easy win for Syndergaard. But I do think he's actually a logical option in really all formats for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The thing about not getting the win, I think Syndergaard's one of those players who will get you enough strikeouts to kind of offset those points if he doesn't get the win.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe Ross on the other side, my one concern with him is that he struggles a little bit with left-handed bats, which this Mets team, obviously they're struggling. They haven't really been great against righties this year. He maybe could run into a little bit of trouble. I'm not really necessarily taking guys against him, but I do think at the price tag there are some different options I kind of rather go around with.
Yeah, I kind of like him too. I know he's been good the last few starts, but his junior ERA is still over 5, and I just think there's, like you, I think there's other options that you can kind of go with here.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here, you got the Indians and Braves, and Trevor Bauer versus Gant, over under of 8, Cleveland minus 166 favorites. This one, I like Bauer more so on FanDuel, obviously, where he's 8,900. You look at this Braves offense, still bottom 5 in WOBA against righties. Strikeout rate right around kind of that league average. So for me, I think you can kind of target Bauer more so on FanDuel. DraftKings, he's not really in play.
Yeah, his pricing is really weird. I'm probably going to shy away from him, though, on both sites, just because you look at this Braves offense, and even though they are pretty bad, they've gotten to a lot of pitchers lately, and I really don't know why, because it's been good pitchers going against them, a little bit better than Bauer, and they still have hit them pretty well.
Yeah, they have. They've been that pesky offense, and that's why I don't think Bauer's definitely not worth that 12-8. As far as on FanDuel, I like Schumacher a little bit more for the upside as far as, being $100 less. So I think he'd just be kind of that swerve for Bauer there from Schumacher, just in comparison of prices.
Yeah, I don't think Bauer's price on FanDuel is that bad. I just think where he's priced around, you could go in different options.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as Gant on the other side, I mean, you look at this Indians offense that's really thriving. He's not an option.
No, absolutely. The Indians offense has to be the best offense going around right now. So I'm staying far away. Last month it was the Red Sox, and now it's the Indians.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think, overall, Cleveland big favorites there. Bauer, a decent option tonight. Not quite my favorite, but I do think he's a solid play. Cubs and Reds here, Jake Arrieta versus Dan Stroh. The over-under of 8. Chicago minus 228 favorites. I like Arrieta quite a bit. I mean, 3-7 on DraftKings is expensive for a guy pitching in Great American Ballpark, but you look at what he's done against the Reds, and I think he's the top dollar option.
Yeah, absolutely. He threw what a shutout last time against them at Great American, so or no hitter actually. So he's still very solid regardless of the ballpark. I know the ballpark's a huge factor, almost allowing 3 home runs a game, but if he's not giving up any hits, you don't have to be concerned about the ballpark.
No, definitely not. And you look at this Reds offense. I mean, 26th in WOBA, 23% strikeout rate, and you look at Arrieta. I mean, it's just been dominant. Doesn't allow a ton of hard ball rate, 21% this year, and dialing up a 28% strikeout rate is solid. So, FanDuel, I think he's kind of your easy number one option. You were talking about the price difference from Syndergaard to Arrieta. DraftKings, I do think it's an okay spin down if you're looking to try to grab that extra bat. I don't mind that, but Arrieta is by far, maybe not by far, but he is my favorite play.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at this Cincinnati Reds team, and they've had some good matchups lately, and they've kind of been underwhelming as an offense. So they're kind of on the downswing right now outside of Bruce and Duvall, and you kind of got to go with Arrieta.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as the red side of things go with Dan Straley, I mean, he's had some good starts this season. And for some reason, he's actually pitched better at home, but still not a guy who I'm looking to target, even though he is pretty cheap on DraftKings.
Yeah, and Australia was we picked on him a lot last year, but this year he's been a little bit different, and I just don't like him in this matchup, even though it is probably going against a Cubs team who aren't going to put their best lineup out there.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here at the Red Sox and the Rays, two lefties, Eduardo Rodriguez, Blake Snell, over under of 8. This seems to pick them. And I was talking about this as far as the hitter side of things go. I'm not really on this game as far as anyone, as far as hitters and pitchers go. I mean, you got a few right-handed guys from the Rays like Logan Forsythe, who I like, but outside of that, I mean, I can't get a lot of buzz behind these guys.
No, I agree with you there. You look at the Rays, Longoria, he's kind of priced up there too. So if you're going to pay up at third base, you might as well try to get to one of the Coors guys. So this kind of is a void game for me as well. The only guys I'd probably take a chance on hitting wise would be really cheap options for the Red Sox.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Hanley, his price has popped up. So I think overall, I mean, Hanley on DraftKings is a little bit more enticing, but both these guys have pitched very average. I'm not really a big fan of either of them, even at the cheaper price tags. I think it's just kind of a fade situation, really for both sides.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I could try to maybe pair one of these guys with maybe Arrieta to offset your salary going towards pitchers, but I don't have a lot of faith in either one of these guys.
No, and Eduardo Rodriguez, I mean, he hasn't really been missing a ton of bats. I mean, saw his strikeout game last start at 7, but before that, I mean, against some heavy strikeout teams, he didn't really strike out a ton.
Yeah, some people think he's still tipping his pitches, so.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, that's kind of a tough issue. And as far as Blake Snell goes, I mean, he's been decent. I don't think he's going to be great, but I don't see myself kind of stacking the Red Sox offense today.
No, not at all. I mean, the issue with Snell is he doesn't strike too many guys out back-to-back games with 3, so I'm just avoiding him. And you never know, one of these days the offense of the Red Sox will finally wake up again.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here, you got the Cardinals and Royals. Adam Wainwright versus Danny Duffy. Kansas City minus 117 favorites. 8.5 over under here. So Vegas looking for some runs. I mean, Kauffman Stadium in the summertime is a little bit different than it is kind of in the later and earlier months. The ball kind of carries a little bit more, a little bit friendlier towards the gap. So for me, I actually really like both offenses in this game. I know Wainwright's pitched a little bit better of late, and Danny Duffy's been somewhat serviceable, but overall, I just think the outlying numbers have me looking more towards hitters here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do like Wainwright a little bit just because he's pitched well lately and his price in DraftKings is pretty good. So you could kind of pair him with, say, Arrieta. You could kind of put together a pretty good offense. But kind of agree with you. you look at the Royals, they've sort of a little bit heated up, and the Cardinals' offense is always as pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Wainwright. I mean, I do think a 6 innings, maybe 3 to 4 earned runs is, for me, that's probably what my projection would be for him tonight.
Yeah, I don't expect something great out of him, but I think he's been solid enough where he could go 6, 7 innings and get you 5 strikeouts and right around 20 fantasy points on DraftKings.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as Danny Duffy goes, I mean, the strikeout rate's been solid this year. For me, I don't think it's going to last. He's always been a guy who, maybe he gets through the front of the lineup once, and then that second time through, he has a little bit tougher time. I mean, obviously a decent swing strike rate this year, but the home runs are still an issue, and I like a lot of those Cardinals right-handed bats against him.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably won't use any Danny Duffy here. I was looking into him, and he's only given up 50 hits on the season, and 10 of those have been home runs. So he's really had an issue giving up home runs, and he's even been a little bit worse at Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah, and he hasn't gone deep into games. I mean, had a couple 6 inning games there before, but 4 and 2/3 last time out. I mean, 5 innings, and it was just where he just allowed 3 earned runs, so it's not like he was completely shelled. So it just doesn't look like that he's completely stretched out. I think six innings is just the max, and I don't think he's even going to reach that point tonight.
Yeah, he might be out like the other time in 4 innings. So
Yeah. Next one here, I mean, obviously, Coors is kind of an easy pass over for pitching. I mean, Marco Estrada versus John Gray. Over under a 12 here, Toronto -124 favorites. Talking on the DK and FD pods as far as these pitchers, I mean, Estrada's been good. His home run troubles are still an issue, and I think he's going to get blown up tonight. John Gray on the other side, I mean, obviously, he's a guy who has really good stuff. And I could see maybe this Blue Jays offense putting up maybe 7 or 8 runs, but as far as DFS goes, maybe it's not quite the best as far as maybe some other options.
no, absolutely. They're priced extremely high, so you're really going to need a lot if you're going to try to stack this offense here. And just one of those things where Gray isn't that bad of a pitcher. It's just the course factor where he kind of really struggles. So I kind of agree with you there. No Batista, and they might have a struggling offense by just collecting singles or doubles rather than the home runs you're really looking for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you looked at some games. I mean, at home, I mean, at the Mets and the Reds. I mean, obviously those offenses don't compare to the Blue Jays, but he does have that stuff that maybe he can limit some damage. I mean, maybe 4 earned runs, maybe 5. Obviously you're not looking at great, but I think it should be talked about just because you're looking at maybe some Blue Jays offensive players that at those prices may not quite be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a decent slate where you can kind of have other options to kind of do it. But I feel like the Rockies are in a really prime spot here. You look at Estrada with his over 50% fly ball rate, and I just think those outfielders like Gonzalez and Blackman, those guys might be worth it.
Yeah, I definitely like them quite a bit. Obviously, I mean, both guys definitely not in play, but I think Ray's just kind of an interesting guy to always talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know his brother, so
His brother.
Sonny Gray.
They're actually brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was told that, so if I'm wrong, I apologize. But yeah, so I guess when he came up to, he was all upset about pitching at Coors. He's just said he could never do it, and he has no confidence there. So I try to shy away from him at Coors.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, obviously, not really the guy who you're looking at, but that's intriguing. I didn't know that one actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he was in Oakland, he might probably be better than Sonny right now.
Yeah, talk about two different environments that your brother gets thrown into.
Absolutely.
Next game here, you got Chase Field. Vince Velasquez making his first start back from injury. Robbie Ray, on the other hand, over under at 9. And this was another game that I was looking at, and I think Vince Velasquez is obviously a quality right-handed arm, a big-time swing strike rate. I mean, the K percentage has been there this year. A lot of righties in this lineup outside of Lamb and Bourne, and I'm not really looking at Velasquez, but once again, I mean, I'm not really looking at this Diamondbacks offense being kind of high profile tonight.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I was looking at both these starters, and they could kind of go either way. And I just one of those things I don't really want to be involved in either the offense or even the pitching on this slate. It's just they both are kind of up in the air, and You could give up a lot of runs by Robbie Ray, and same with Vincent Velasquez coming off the injury, and who knows, he might still be hurt. So I'm just staying away from both these guys.
Yeah, and I think overall, I mean, this is just a GPP game as far as offensive hitters go. And Robbie Ray, I mean, he struggled at home, 5.89 ERA comparison to the mid three on the road. I don't like his price at all on DraftKings at 9.3. You can make a case for him because he's the only real below 8K pitcher on FanDuel that you can arguably look at and make a case for, just because the Phillies offense really isn't good against lefties. But I do think Chase Field, it could be a little bit of a problem for him today.
No, absolutely. We've seen Chase Field at times. I remember last year would have a bigger scoring output than Coors would on the same night, and everyone would stack Coors, and then the people who stacked Chase Field would be pretty happy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, looking here, probably not the case tonight, but I just think you're not really sure what you're going to get out of these pitchers. And I think Ray on FanDuel is the only one where I might pull a trigger. Outside of that, I can't see myself using either of them on DK.
Yeah, I'm just staying away.
Next one here, you got the Astros and Angels, Colin McHugh versus Matt Schumacher, over under a 7.5. Houston's still favorites here, minus 112. Schumacher is the guy who's picked it up, and I think you're looking at him as kind of really, he's going to be a popular GPP and even probably borderline cash for some of these guys out here tonight, just because you're looking at this Houston team that have a high strikeout rate against righties. I mean, 24.3%. And you're looking at Schumacher and what he's done this year, a lot of strikeouts, and I think that's going to be him again today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't mind him. I'm just looking at this offense of Houston who's red hot right now, and I'm kind of shying away. 2 months ago, this was the worst pitcher in baseball in Shoemaker. So he's just one guy I don't have a lot of faith in. I agree with you. I think GPPs he's going to be highly owned just because everyone thinks they're getting a great deal out of him, but I just can't get behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I mean, obviously the home runs per nine have always been an issue with him. This is also the third time that he's going to face Houston. And you look, twice this season, 18 Ks in 16 innings, very solid, 5 earned runs. I mean, you just got to hope with him that he keeps the ball in the yard. And I do think Angel Stadium is a little bit better. Obviously, he pitched pretty well in Minute Maid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of like here. Just for me, I'm staying away.
And on the other side, Colin McHugh, I mean, he is a cheap DraftKings guy, but overall, I mean, I can't really get behind using him a ton, just because you look at this Angels offense. They don't always allow a ton of upside to opposing pitchers.
No, absolutely. They're one of the kind of like a Braves offense where they can kind of just be a little pesky squad and kind of get hits here and there. I mean, I don't mind Colin McHugh just because he's really cheap. And he has six strikeouts back-to-back games. So there's some upside there. But like you said, he'll be facing the Angels for the second time in a row. And once offenses see a guy once, then they kind of get an idea of what he's doing and usually hit him better the second time around.
Yeah, and that's 6,900 price tag. I mean, if I am stacking a high-profile offense, he's obviously going to be a guy who I'll probably need in my lineup just for salary relief, and that's kind of only how I'm going to use him.
Oh, absolutely.
So, last game of the night here, you got the A's and Giants, and Samardzija versus Menden, over under a 7.5. San Francisco big minus 184 favorites. This is one where there is a pricing difference for me. I mean, 8,400 as far as Samardzija goes on DraftKings. I don't like him at all at the 9,400 on FanDuel.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. And as crazy as this sounds, I love Samardzija on DraftKings just because of his price difference. And I think you're going to get a low ownership too because he didn't have a good start last time out. But he's been extremely good at AT&T Park, 3 ERA. He's only given up a couple home runs there. And I just think he's a different pitcher there. And I don't really have a lot of faith on this Oakland offense, even though they did kind of come to life in this last series.
Yeah, I like Samardzija a bit too. I mean, obviously, I was kind of looking at some of these A's bats against them. I mean, they're really cheap as far as on DraftKings. And I do think it's going to be a thing that maybe I kind of match my exposure with and maybe take a couple of guys against him in another line to maybe cover. Because, I mean, sometimes, you don't really know what you're going to get out of him. And I think he's been a little bit rockier of late and kind of boomer bust. But as you mentioned, I mean, AT&T Park, he's pitched better. He's been on the road quite a bit over the last few starts. In that price tag, I just think it's kind of too good to pass up on.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. There is still a lot of risk there, but I just think the upside with him at his price on DraftKings is it's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. And you're just looking at kind of um, other options around him. I mean, Velasquez struggles on the road, Ray struggles at home. Ross is a little too expensive for me. So out of that range, I'm definitely with you. I just think Samardzija is kind of the best in that little tier there.
No, absolutely. And then on the other side, Mengden, I think he's a complete void.
Oh yeah, for sure. This Giants offense never allows any upside, and you know, even though I mean he's oddly priced 7,500, I'm just not sure if that's just because he had a couple of good starts. I mean, yes, he's been solid, but overall not a great pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, his price is just too high right now. And maybe if it was in the 6,500 range, it'd be a different story because we have seen the Giants bats go quiet every once in a while. But at that price, it's not something I want to do.
No, I definitely agree with you. So that's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.